I bought this racket some time ago with the intentions of seeing just how long it would take me to string a racket. You'll notice that this racket here has 14 mains in it, and it's got 18 crosses. Because I've got fewer mains and crosses in this racket than most rackets, I'll have a lot less weaving to do, and I thought that would increase the time on it. Also, this racket is a 90 square inch racket, and because there's so few mains and crosses, it's a pretty open pattern, and the more open that pattern is, the easier it's going to be to string. So if I were trying to speed string this racket, what I'd do first is set up my stringing machine so that the racket is going to fit on it right to begin with. If you'll notice here now, at this top side support, the grommet is about right here for the third cross, and the fourth cross is about right here. So when I pull tension on this string right here coming out this way, it's going to be fine, but when I pull tension on this string coming out this way, it's going to have to bend around this support to get there. So I want to move this support up the racket this way. If I look at the bottom support now, I've got pretty much the same problem. This bottom side support is right over the top of this third from the bottom cross. And I want it to be further down the racket about right here, so that when I pull tension on this string, it'll go through freely and give me plenty of room for this third from the bottom cross to go around that. So the first thing I'm going to do is adjust these side supports so that everything's right. What I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the side supports, and I'm going to open up the 6 and 12 o'clock supports on my racket. This one now I wanted to move down the racket about a ½ inch. That means I have to move this 6 o'clock support this way about a ½ inch. These supports, when I move this support here, it'll move these supports down the racket. When I move this one out, it'll move these supports up the racket. So these I wanted to go about a ½ inch, so I'm going to adjust this out about a ½ inch. That's about a ½ inch. So now I can seat the racket in the bottom and adjust in the bottom, and then let's look at the top of it. Alright, now I need to go maybe just a little bit further because that bottom one is right here, and the next cross right here is a little above it. So I'm going to go out just a little bit more. Okay, now I'm going to adjust it in, and that's just about perfect. I've got it right on the edge right here so that when it comes out the frame, it'll pull in the angle fine, and when it comes out up here, it's got enough clearance to get around this right here. Only one of them is going to be on one side or the other. This one might be here, and that string there will be on the other side of the racket. Now let's look and see what's going to happen to the top. This one I had to bring it out a little bit, but not as much. So I'm just going to crank it out a little bit. That looks good. I'm going to adjust the 12 o'clock support and then turn it in, see what happens. Now, this one is right there, and the top one gives me about maybe a1/4 of an inch there. So now I've got my side supports set up right so that I could string my tennis racket. The next thing I want to do is I've got a wise tension head on here, which does not give me 360-degree rotation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my wise tension head off and put my lockout tensioner on there. Now I've got 360-degree rotation. I can go around and around with my turntable now without the handle hitting the tension head. But the way I've got this tension head put on there, when it goes up to the stop and I let go of the crank, it'll come down and back up some. I want this to go all the way up against that stop and stop there. And this handle I want to be over on this side so that gravity will hold it down so it's in the same place every time. So when I reach down to grab it and pull it up, it's always in the same place. So I'm going to back this out, turn it a little bit, and then put it back in there. Alright, now when I let go of this at the end, it's going to be all the way down there. I can just grab it right here, tension my string. When I get done, I put it back, and it'll be in the same place every time when I do it that way. Don't know that that makes all the difference in the world, but it will help some. Also, when I'm stringing the racket, if I was trying to do it faster, what I'd want to do is use a lower tension. So I'm going to adjust this for 50 pounds of tension. 48 plus 2. So now I've got this set up for 50 pounds of tension, and I'm pretty much ready to, once I mount this racket and start stringing it, I can just go with it. So all I have to do is take my strings out, clean the racket up, get my string handy. Oh, one more thing about the string that I'm going to be using. Okay, I'm pretty much ready. I want to make sure, I don't normally have a camera sitting here, so I want to make sure that my racket rotates all the way around and everything, 360-degree rotation without hitting my tripod, knocking my camera over, hitting anything or whatever. I'm also going to be using a 17 gauge string. This is Gossin OG Micro. It's on a reel, and therefore it's really fairly straight. It's not kinked. And if I get a string that isn't kinked and that is soft and comes off of a reel instead of being tightly wound together like this so that it's got a lot of coil memory, I find it's a little bit easier to string. For this racket, I'm going to use 33 feet of string. So what I'm going to do is just measure out using racket lengths until I get 33 feet of string. That's 3, 4, I've got my 33 feet of string now. What I'm going to do is just take it and try to form a coil out of it. May not be a perfect coil, but it'll be, it'll be round. Okay, I've got my 33 feet of string here now, and I could take a tie wrap and put it on here. I'm just going to take a rubber band and loosely put it on here so that it'll hold it together. And then when I'm ready to start stringing my racket, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop the rubber band off, put this end of the string through the side support here, and hold this coil of string up on the throat, the smooth part of the throat of the racket here, and unwind this string. That way I won't get any kinks in my string, and I'll be able to grab both ends of this string and start stringing right away. And now I made a pretty bold claim that I could string this racket in about 4 minutes, maybe less. And a lot of people didn't believe that. So what I'm going to do is I've got some shears here that I'm going to use to cut these strings out with. These are just some old carpet shears that I found someplace sometime, and they seem to work pretty good on it. So now I'm going to start my timer, and I'm going to take these strings out. Okay, the next thing I like to do is I like to take just, excuse me, I like to take a damp towel and just clean the frame up. Whoops, I stopped that. I need to keep that going. But I guess that's going to mess up my time. But anyway, I'm just going to clean all around this frame. Then I'm going to mount my frame. I had the brake on. Where did I put my string? Oh, here's my string. I'm going to take my string now, mount it on here, go through the side, and I'm holding this string up around the throat of the racket so it doesn't get twisted, although some of it's messed up already. I just take it off there. I don't really need to do that anyway. Now I got a rat's nest. Holy cow, this is really going to get me close. Okay, there's one end, here's the other end, and I'm ready to start stringing my racket. It took me 2 minutes 37.21 seconds. Not bad at all. That's under 4 minutes.